Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime and Craft. My name is Terra and I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite books, Casey Jones by Allan Drummond. Listen, want to hear the story of Casey Jones? We have Wallace Saunders, the engine wiper, Sim Webb, the fireman, and John Casey Jones, the engineer. Listen, want to hear the story from Wallace and Sim of the railroad's greatest hero, Casey Jones? That's him. Listen, did you hear that whistle? Listen. Whoo, whoo. It's Casey Jones. Whoo, whoo. The clock at the station shows 8:01, and they all say Casey Jones has never been late. It's Casey Jones. Whoo, whoo. With one hand on the whistle and the other on the brake, he's arriving on the Illinois 638. Whoo, whoo. In roars the engine with a rush of steam, and the station master shouts, "Where have you been?" And all of a sudden, there's a mountain of smoke, and the platform's buzzing with all kinds of folk. The milk from the dairy and mail from the town are loaded on the brake cart as the people climb down. Children at the windows and the telegraph boy with a message from the company in Illinois. Wallace grabs the oil can, and Sim swings the scoop, and Casey, at the whistle, gives a final toot. Casey Jones, he's never been late, hooting at the whistle of the 638. Whoo, whoo. Listen, now all of this happened 100 years ago, but it's a story that everyone ought to know. Because the railroad back then was the mightiest thing, and the loco engineer was the Iron Horse King. Casey Jones, the Iron Horse King. All across America, the steel wheels rolled, joining ocean to ocean with the power of coal. Long lines of wagons taking people and freight through the deserts and the mountains, linking state to state. There were new opportunities, building the nation. The railroad offered adventure to settlers as they spread out across the country. But their power brought destruction, the death of a way of life, disaster for the Native Americans. But it also brought the music of the railroad. Goodbye and good luck. The railroad became a mighty power as tracks all across America were joined together. Food for the city folk, building the cities, iron and steel works. The freedom and the power of the railroad track, calling children and the grown-ups, and they never looked back. Whoo, whoo. Listen, now this is the story of Casey Jones's fate as he rolled into Memphis on his 638. He'd volunteered to drive one stormy night because another engineer wasn't feeling right. So with Sam as the fireman, they pulled through the yards, and an hour out of the day started driving her hard. The train was full of people from all down the line, mothers and children, all asleep at the time, and the milk and the mail bags from all over the state, and everyone knew they were running late. Casey Jones, he'd never been late, hooting at the whistle of the 638. Hoo, hoo. In the deep of the night, people turned in their beds, hearing Casey's lonely whistle. There he goes, they said. But nobody told Casey there was trouble ahead. So he hung on with the throttle out, and on they sped. Now, a mile in the distance, where no one could see, was a bend in the track by the Mississippi, and two men were struggling to clear the track because a freight train had broken and wouldn't move back. So a flagman ran forward with a red and white light, which he swung at Sim and Casey as they roared through the night. But when Casey saw the signal, he was into the bend, and the first thing he thought of was the life of his friend. "Jump, Sim, and save yourself," was the last thing Casey said before his hands hit the levers, trying to stop the train dead. Casey could see that they were rolling too fast, and he figured that this journey was going to be his last. He slammed on the air brakes and pulled reverse gear. Then he hung on to the whistle pull till all you could hear was the screaming of the hooter, the wail of the brakes, and a terrible explosion that made everything shake. A cloud of smoke and ashes and splinters of wood rose up over the wreckage where the freight train had stood. Then there was silence, then a baby's cries, and the flagman who came running could not believe his eyes, 'cause from the brake car to the tender, the whole train was saved. And one by one the passengers stepped down in a daze. "Where's Casey Jones?" Sim shouted as he ran through the steam to a pile of twisted wreckage where the loco had been. And as the dust settled, poor Casey lay dead. Sim found him looking peaceful, and somebody said, "He's got one hand on the whistle and the other on the brake, and his soul has gone to heaven aboard his 638. Casey Jones, he'd never been late. His soul went to heaven aboard a 638. Now all of this happened 100 years ago, and it's a story that everyone needs to know. 'Cause the railroad back then was the mightiest thing, and the loco engineer was the Iron Horse King. Casey Jones, the Iron Horse King. And out here in the backwoods, children still want to hear the story of the railroad's greatest engineer, the man who gave his life, but who saved his train. John Luther Casey Jones was his name. Listen. Woo, woo. The end. Thank you so much for joining us for story time today at the Colorado Railroad Museum. Stay tuned for Craft Time with Roni.
Hi friends, this is Roni here at the Colorado Railroad Museum. I'm so happy to see you. We have a really fun project to do today that has to do with the book Casey Jones by Allan Drummond. So in the story, we find out that Casey Jones ends up being a hero. And so we always want to remember our heroes, right? So we decided to make a Casey Jones for you to hold on to. So I'm going to bring two out. One, today we're going to do the one with construction paper. But if we don't have construction paper, we could just do it with regular paper and then do crayons or coloring with markers. So let's get started. Okay, so to make our Casey Jones, we need to have some construction paper. I picked pink for Casey Jones features and skin color. I picked orange, like I think he had an orange shirt in the book. And then for his overalls, blue construction paper. But you could do whatever you want. I'm sure Casey Jones changed his clothes all the time. We're also going to need some markers. A toilet paper roll. That's going to be Casey Jones. You're going to need some tape. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that later. Some glue. Some scissors. And probably mom or dad or whoever's going to be helping you going to need a little pencil to kind of measure things a little bit. Okay, I think I have everything I need to get started. So, what I'm going to do first is take my pink paper and I'm going to kind of measure it, the whole length of the paper roll. And I'm just going to put a little line there and I'm going to cut along that line. Okay, remember if you're cutting yourself, be very, very careful. But if you have a mom or dad or grandma or brother or sister helping you, you can watch so that you know and learn how to cut with your scissors. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to wrap the construction paper in the pink paper. And I'm going to leave a little bit extra so that I can glue it on there and make sure it stays. Hold on to that paper, you might be able to use it for something else. Now I like to use a lot of glue because sometimes it doesn't always stay real well. So I'll just put it on the edge of that piece of paper. Even if you go over it, that's probably better than not. And then hold it on there. Sometimes I count to 10. Or I just keep rubbing it. And if it looks like it's going to come up, just add a little bit more glue. We're all good. Okay. There we go. Get started. Now we need his orange shirt. But we don't need to make it nearly as long as paper towel rolls. So I'm going to probably go about that far. Oh, leave it on this side. And I'm going to measure it again. And then I'm going to cut again. Oh, gosh. There we go. Same thing, but we're going to keep this part his face. So we're going to wrap this around. Again, we're going to leave a little bit of space so we can glue it on there and make it overlap. Glue that part first. Then glue this part and hold on to it. Make sure it's going to stay really good. So there's his shirt, there's his face, there's his shirt. Now he needs his pants. Okay, so to make his pants, we're going to come again and kind of measure it around that way. Again, we're going to mark it. And then we're going to cut it. But we are not going to put his pants on right away because I'm going to have a white crayon here. And I like putting stripes on it so they look like real engineer overalls. So I'm just going to put some stripes, whoop, all the way down. It's easier to do it when the paper's flat than when it's already on the paper roll. Oh my goodness. I keep making paper mistakes. There we go. There's his overalls. Then like we did before, we're going to wrap it around. Put a little glue on this side to hold. And then a little glue on this side. Finish wrapping. There. Now he's all set. Oops, let me put a little extra glue. There. Now, one thing I do want on him is I want his little straps. So I'm going to take a little bit of, tiny bit of paper. Just like I did with the pants, I'm going to put some stripes. And I'm going to cut that little piece of paper in half. And then glue on his straps. Put lots of glue so it doesn't come off. There we go. Oh, sometimes there we go. All right, straps, stay there. If you think they're going to fall off, put a little extra glue. Okay, now we have him all set. Let's put his face on. So I like to use a marker. That way I can see it better than with crayon. Crayon's sometimes harder on construction paper. So we need 2 eyes. Whoop. Oh, that's my big boo-boo. A little nose. And a cute little smile. I always like to put ears. Kind of reminds me that we need to be listening. And then you can put some hair. I'm going to put curly hair only because it's just funner to do than just putting straight hair. But you can do any kind of hair you want. Or maybe none at all. Maybe you want your Casey to not have hair. That's okay too. All right, I need to ask everyone, what is he missing? If he's missing, yep, he's missing his hat. So let's make a hat real quick. What we're going to do is we're going to measure the bottom of Casey to make a circle. And then we're going to make a semicircle around that. Again, before you do anything else, put some stripes. Oh, I brought the crayon. And then we're going to do a little bit for the top of the hat. And then we're going to cut it out. Now, I know you might be wondering, how is she going to make his hat stay on? We're going to find out. So remember, be very careful following along. If you can't do it, I know you have lots of people there who can probably help you. All right. There. Now he has a little hat. What we're going to do is we're going to put it on top of his head, and then we're going to tape it on, because that way it can cover that little hole in the paper roll. Okay, it might be a little tricky. Smooth it out so you can't see the tape too much. Oh, flipping his hat off. Put it on this side. All right. Now this little hat might look a little bit funny, but you could flip it up and put one more piece of tape after that if you'd like. But now here's your Casey Jones. I think he looks pretty darn cute. I hope you enjoyed our craft today, and look forward to seeing you next month. And please come and see us here at the Colorado Railroad Museum when you get a chance. Thank you. Bye.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Commenting and sharing in particular may qualify as virtual engagements for important funding programs like the SCFD.